Alright, so this is going to be a Valorant agent tier list regarding patch 11.10, and this is going to be focused more on like the team play side of games, like Premier, 5 stacks, stuff like that, rather than ranked solo duo queue. So like team play, VCT, stuff like that. This is my just general thoughts on the agents in the meta. I'm just going to do it based on each agent in line here. So starting with Viper, I think is a pretty obvious S tier. She's really strong on basically every map in the game. And like just every map that she's deemed as not good, like earlier on in the game's life cycle, like in 2022, 2023, people thought she was bad on Ascent, and teams started to learn how to use her a bit more, and she's seen on and off play. Same with Haven, like she was deemed as like a basically a never pick on Haven, and then slowly she got like one off picked by a couple teams, like Fun Plus Phoenix, now Navi, most notably. And then slowly into the Harbor Viper meta, she got played on legitimately every map other than Ascent, where teams still played the Jet KO comp, but I think she's just a really strong agent. Her wall is one of the best pieces of utility in the game just because you can always use it. There's no, like, it's not telegraphed at all. Like a Harbor wall, you have to be somewhere and it's obvious where you're throwing it from, or even like Initiator util, you have to throw it from somewhere and like they can trace that back to you. But with Viper, you could literally be anywhere on the map. Same with like a Clove or an Astra, but like Viper is just really strong. She's probably the best Lurk agent in the game. She's really strong as a hard inker. Her ult is really impactful. Like there's not much of a downside to picking Viper, really. Now, going on to another agent, which is Vise. Before patch 11.08, I would say she's probably third in line here, maybe fourth best agent in the game. But after the nerf, I'm not gonna lie, I'll put her in bottom C tier for now because I think she's better than some agents. So first of all, let's start with the signature. Her flash is now breakable as it's popping, which is honestly a really good nerf. I really like that. It seemed really weird that you couldn't shoot it before. But now that you can shoot it as it's popping, I think that's really bad, considering her flash does no longer get info, which was, in my opinion, the main strength of Vise, where you could use her as basically an initiator. And I mean, I don't think any team ran no initiator. I was definitely thinking about like how viable would a comp like this be with like a controller and a sentinel. Having no initiator, you have the tools to take space even without a initiator. But now, I mean, she is competing with Killjoy, with Cypher, honestly with Deadlock and with Sage, as like, why would you ever want an agent where her entire kit is breakable versus Sage, who honestly might just be a better Vise now? With like the wall takes a lot of health, the slows are actually permanent and can't get broken by like some form of utility. The Thorns being 20 HP is really just frustrating more than anything now as a Vise player, because like it's so easy to spam them out. Whereas before you had to at least invest like a Molly from Gecko KO, maybe a Raise Nade, maybe a Reach damage, Teo damage, something like that. But now you can just like spam it and you're like guaranteed to break it basically. Like anything will break them now. The flashes are basically non-existent from Vise now. I think the flashes last less as well. The Thorns, I think that's the only change, is that they're 20 HP now. The wall is easier to bait out now, which honestly is good for the game because it was like really clunky before, but still it's like a direct Vise nerf. And then her ult went from probably one of the best execute ults to, in my opinion, one of the worst exec ults, if not the worst. Like, it was basically comparable to a Killjoy ult before in terms of strength. Maybe a little bit weaker, because with KG you just can't do anything. But it's like, you can literally be in the center of this Visal and run out, I'm pretty sure. It's slow, sluggish. Like, it takes forever for this ult to pop. And, like, the timing on it feels weird. It's just, I think it lasts less as well. It's just overall so much worse. Like, she does have the benefit of being able to hold flank, but, like, there's other Sentinels that can also hold flank. Like, why would you ever want to pick a Vaz? Like, she only really makes sense on maps where other Sentinels are kind of clunky, like Abyss. If you would if your Sentinel's much more comfortable on Abyss, on Vise, and not on Cypher. And even then, why wouldn't you want to pick a Chamber, or even like a secondary controller, honestly? But moving on, this is out of order now because I dragged Raze up, but I think Raze overall, either high B tier or low A tier. I think for now I'm gonna put her in high B tier. I might move her up later, like depending on if I feel like one tier is more flooded than the other. Yoru, I think, is probably low S tier. He still has everything that makes him him. He has an Initiator-esque flash. He has the ability to teleport across the map on defense. He has the best anti-sentinel utility in his clone that can break basically any setup if used right and protected well. He's still one of the best dives in the game. His ult is still the strongest duelist ult other than maybe Waylay ult. I think they're pretty 50-50. I think a well-used Yoru ult is probably better than a well-placed Waylay ult, but I think they're pretty close. So, I mean, with everything, like, there's not really a downside, like, with picking Yoru. Like, he's so flexible, he can do basically anything. He can lurk as, like, a second duelist, TP back to the team. He's one of the best operas in the game. Probably, like, number 4 or 5 best op in the game. You can play him as a solo duelist. In some maps, you can play him as a second duelist, where he basically just becomes a better KO, where he's like more free to do literally anything. He's just a really strong, well-rounded agent overall. I think he is a bit strong still. Like the nerf, a lot of people are like, oh, Yoru's dead now, Yoru's so bad. Like, honestly, I think he's like fine. Like, the ult nerf, I don't think really matters that much unless you're using your ult to make space for a second duelist where you can flash them. But a lot of people were just like flashing, cloning, coming out of their mask, and it was just really dumb. Like, no skill was getting used, and it was really cringe. A lot of yours were just giving up their lives. So honestly, if anything, I'm happy that they removed that. The flash nerf is good. It makes no sense for it to be as good as a KO or a breach flash while being a duelist, but I mean, it's still pretty strong overall. It's probably one of the most like creative flashes in the game. Like, you can use it in almost any situation, and like you can make lineups for it like from almost anywhere. Some are more awkward than others in some spots, but still, like, it's really strong. It's very self-sufficient, which is good. Like, Yoru doesn't feel clunky in any way, which I think is really good. Like, there's nothing awkward about him. Moving on, I feel like I took way too much time on Yoru there, but moving on to Sova, I think he's just pretty obviously an A tier agent. He's still obviously top 3 gathering information on the game. He's just a really strong agent overall. You have shock darts to break Vi, Cypher, KJ type util. You can break trips on Vito and Chamber as well. The drone is just always going to be really strong. The ult is phenomenal for post plant. Shock's great for post plant. Like, I mean, I don't really have much to say on Sova. He's just good. He's good on most maps, other than like Split, where you can still pocket pick him with like a flash initiator of like a breach. Like look at Leviathan, Fracture. Look at once again Calm on EG 2023. Like there's not really a bad Sova map, but there's just maps where you would not really first look at Sova, where there's just definitely safer, quicker, faster options to pick up. And that brings us to Sky. Sky I think is below Raze, but I think Sky generally over this 11.08 nerf on Initiator util puts her closer to Sky, not Sky, Fade and Sova in the Info Initiator class, especially with maps like Split and Bind in the map pool. And like honestly, I think if she gets her cooldown back, she might honestly be better than some, maybe Sova. I think she's just overall like a really strong agent right now. Her dog is just a better Sova drone in my opinion. The heal is whatever. The ult is pretty nice. I think it's just slightly better than Sova ult if you're like a faster paced team, or like a map like Split. Like I'd rather have a Sky ult than a Sova ult, to be honest. And it's just like it gives you free information. You can hit sites with it to help like just have more chaos in the site. I mean, Sky's a pretty straightforward agent. Like, do I think she's gonna be crazy? No. Like she just went off of like probably a 9% pick rate in the last meta, but and that's honestly all from I think Bind. Like she had a really low pick rate overall. I don't really think it's gonna go up by much, but I think like teams are gonna be more interested at the Sky on Bind, maybe on Haven, maybe on Split. Like she's just a better looking option just because of how much of a nerf that Fade and Sova got. That takes us to Astra. I'll throw Astra high A tier, mid A tier. I think overall she's just like a really good agent. She's really flexible. Map pool wise, like she doesn't really have a bad map. Like she has maps where she's very high pick rate, like Split, Pearl. More notably Pearl. She can be good as a secondary controller on like every map. She's viable as a primary controller on every map that isn't Viper maps in Breeze and Icebox. But like on a map like a Ascend, you can run an Astra Omen or like an Abyss. I think it's definitely more common than Ascent, but just like any map you can really get away with the Astra Omen comp if you really want an Astra. Like she's fairly common on Bind. Like some teams that don't like Brim run an Astra. Like there's not much to say. Like the nerfs are fine that keep her in line with Omen. The stun and suck cooldown going from 45, which was already really long, to 60 just feels really weird to me, because you don't need to nerf a cooldown like that if it's not their signature to keep it in line with every utility in the game. So to me that seems weird, but at the same time, like I guess it's fine. Like it just felt unnecessary when Omen has the better CC. Why would you nerf the one thing that makes Astra competitive with Omen, having double CC as in crowd control? It just seems so strange to me to make her suck and stun 60 seconds when they already felt super sluggish. Or like maybe the suck makes sense because it makes it harder to use early on and then you have it for post plant. Like that's fine, honestly. And trying to nerf cringe post plant stuff, I'm so for. I love that. But her concuss, like it feels like it's so weird. Like you would really want to just try to make that better for her kit, since it's always felt like the weaker of the two abilities. Maybe not as much with the suck nerf, like where it has a wind up time, but like still. It just seems like a weird nerf to Astra, but I mean overall, when your competition is Harbor, and Clove and Brimstone, it's pretty hard as a controller to like feel weak. Like she's just much better than the other controller options. Moving on to Breach, I think he's comparable to Vise. I'd rather have a Breach or a Vise on my team. I don't know. He's like C tier for sure. Like he's not great. Like early on, like going into like when Neon first released and Optic showed out with their new like Neon comp, they reinvented, or not like reinvented, like they shown a brand new playstyle of Valorant on their Haven with Finesse on the Breach, Victor on the Neon. Like it was really good. Like they were really like innovative with that. But as the game has gone on, teams and players have gotten better with turning breach util or like avoiding breach util. And also it's like more readable. Like so many teams have ran like breach on Haven. Like where do you think the team's gonna stun? If you're an attacker and they have a breach, they're either going to stun a lobby every round. Like look at the Raze meta during Chamber meta on Haven. Like every team was stunning that, nading that. And like you just know it's coming. Or if they don't stun a lobby, they're probably gonna stun down C or stun down grass, and you know they're gonna aggro that. Like everything that a breach can do has been done, and since its utility is so dodgeable if you know what's coming, breach just is progressively getting worse and worse. He already has like a negative win rate in VCT. Like he has a 44% non-mirror win rate, I believe. TMV made a video on every agent's non-mirror win rates, which is when one team has an agent and the other doesn't. So just like it shows that breach is not that great of an agent as is, and he's just progressively getting worse. Like after the Teo meta, they just decided to nerf his stun from 1.1 second to, or no, 1 second to 0.12 seconds. Like that makes no sense. His flash is really turnable. I think it'd be cool to see a breach right click flash. That sounds really dumb at first, but like picture like a KO flash, like it's still cast the same way, but it pops faster and it like flashes for less. Like it would just be better for the agent to be able to like flash for like 1.5 seconds, kind of like a Yoru, but make the flash actually go off faster. So you have to weigh like, oh, I'm obviously just gonna right click this wall now. Like no, you have to think like, is the flash duration gonna be long enough, or is it like make sense to do this? Like just make it an overall weaker flash that pops faster. And I think almost every team would be right clicking breach flashes like that, just because of how long his primary flash is. Like I think something like that would be really cool to see. Or even make that his new like main flash and then give him his current right click, his current flash is like a right click. I don't know, just like something that helped breach out. Like his aftershock is really cool. Like I love breach in the game. He's such a fun agent in theory, but he's so bad because of how like readable he is. Like it, like I don't know what really you can do to make breach feel better, especially with the way that they're trying to move utility to feel weaker. Like breach already hits that mark. Like his utility is very weak, very dodgeable, and he just feels like a bad agent overall because of that. Like there's no reason to pick a breach, especially in a meta where you have Yoru. Like Yoru's so good as a flex pick. I definitely want to start flying through some of these agents because I've already spent 20 minutes and we're 8 agents deep. Brimstone, I'm gonna put at top of C tier because realistically, he's only good on like bind and fracture. I know G2 Gozen ran him on corrode, and like with the controller nerfs, like maybe Brimstone does look like more of an appealing option because he has longer smokes, the molly's good, the ult's good, the stem is pretty good for fast comps. But like overall, most teams I would say are gonna opt to be playing slower Valorant than like ranked, and you're gonna want to have their cooldown on the smokes. Like I know they are kind of similar. Like Omen, you're probably gonna have like 3.5 smokes per round rather than like a set 3. So I mean, it does look more appealing. Brimble is much better than Omenal in theory. Paranoia versus Molly are pretty similar. TP versus Stem is pretty similar. Like maybe you lean slightly towards Omen util, but still, like, I mean, I think Brimstone has potential, but realistically, why wouldn't you just run an Omen or an Astra, especially when they have bigger radiuses? They need less help, like, because if you run a Brim, you kind of have to run a secondary controller of like Viper or Clove, or even like maybe like a Harbor if you're feeling like something like experimental. Like, I don't know, like Harbor or this Brim is an okay agent. He's really strong in the maps that he's strong on, and I mean, until teams like actually very heavily experiment with him on other maps, like it doesn't really make sense. Like, if you're ranked one-tricking Brim and you have those crazy post-plant Molly lineups and whatnot, like, it's probably fine then, but just stick with Omen Astra, really. It just makes more sense. Cypher, I'm gonna put bottom B tier. I think a lot of people are overrating his nerf. He's, like, with Vise getting, like, heavy nerfed, I think Cypher is, like, much better off now, honestly. You have 2 trips, which is only comparable to Killjoy, unless you run double Sentinel. You have the cam as well for info, so you can potentially safely gather info on 3 lanes, which picture Haven, that is B site, garage, and C long, and you can like 5 stack towards that, or 4 stack rather. Maybe like with a Yori, you have like a fast rotate or something as well. Or you can like, if you have the space on other site, like other lanes, you can full set up a Cypher, and he is like one of the hardest sentinels to go into. Like honestly, like a map like Haven, teams I think are gonna start leaning away from Sova a little bit more. Like look at G2 going towards a fade, and your trips are gonna be a little bit more powerful because they have to like swing into the unbreakable trip, actually break it. Like his cam being visible is just like honestly a quality of life playing against a Cypher. Like it feels bad, but like if you play a retake cam, it's not visible anyway. His hat is still the same, his cage is still the same, his trip, like, it's not that crazy, honestly. And I think it boots up faster. Like I think the trip boots up faster than it did before, and you can get out of the trip a little bit faster than before. Like overall, info gathering wise, like he's still the same. Like he's just a really strong sentinel at gathering information. Now moving on to another sentinel that's really strong at gathering information is Chamber, but for a different reason. You can info trip, say it's Haven again, you just trip garage, you throw a TP, you swing C long, and you have just so much info now. He's a really strong opper, the outlaw is really strong right now. He has really good econ, having headhunters, which is a sheriff that you can buy for potentially 100 credits if you only get one shot and you just one tap someone. You have the ult as well, which is really strong. Like overall, his kit is just very good, especially in a meta where initiators feel much weaker. Like I think you could even make the argument for like Chamber A tier, but with how I'm ranking this so far, I think I'm gonna put him in B tier. Gecko, I think is just a bad agent. Like he's good in theory, but he's just so like, I don't know. Like I think if they kept him the same, then a lot of teams probably would have looked at playing Gecko, but I think he got over nerfed. Like it just, in my eyes, why wouldn't you just run Fade or Sky as like a solo initiator? And if you want to run a second initiator, just run KO, run Sky, even run a Breach, honestly. Like a Breach and a Sova makes more sense in my eyes than a Gecko and like a Fade or something. Like I just think Gecko's a weak agent. His ult is decent, his Molly can break Killjoy ult, but Killjoy is slowly like she's just slowly been fading from the meta. I feel like maybe not so much after this patch, but just in general, teams have been running less Killjoy overall. So just I don't know. His util also feels just so breakable. His wingman, his dizzy, his ult even I think is more squishy than it was before. It just feels less like rewarding to play a Gecko when you could just play something more standard like a KO. Deadlock. Honestly, I'm gonna move Raze and Sky up here. I'm gonna put Deadlock bottom B tier. I think she's a strong agent if you have a strong player behind her who really knows how to play around the Deadlock. Like, look at Ascent when she was, like, I wouldn't say meta, but that, like, secondary Ascent comp came up with the Yoru with the Deadlock. And the rest of the comp, Cypher, Sova, Omen. Like, if you have a strong Deadlock player, it makes defense, like, literally impossible. Like, you just have a Sight Anchor that just wins everything. There's a strong retake agent as well with the Gravnet. The Gravnet now being a cooldown is really enticing, especially if, like, pre-nerf Teo would have been really cool to see with more Deadlock. Like, look at Cloud9 on Lotus, they were doing that really well. Like, I think Deadlock is one of the few agents that might be viable on every map in the game just because of how straightforward her kit is. Like, I'm pretty sure teams ran her on Abyss. I might be wrong about that. I know Heretics ran her on Lotus with the Chamber for the info. She was really strong on Ascent. Talon ran her on Haven. She was really strong on Bind. Like, just overall map pool wise, like, she can be really strong on every map. Her ult is really good. It's similar to a Raze ult. Her sensors are really nice to play off of. Like, her wall being 300 credits makes her much more affordable and feel less like when you're low on econ, like, damn bro, I have to spend 400 credits on this wall. Like, why don't I just go with both of my sensors instead? Like, she feels much more affordable now. Like, even though the wall is worse, like, I think that's a well worthwhile transaction, yeah. Because if they don't break the wall, then that's a lot of space that you have for free, in theory. Now, moving on to Neon, I think I'm gonna put her above Raze. The only problem Neon rather has right now is that her map pool feels kind of weak. She only really has Sunset and Haven. She's really strong on a lot of maps, but like, there's definitely better options than a Neon. Like, she's okay on Corrode, but why wouldn't you just run a Waylay? Split, she has some potential with what Nongshim were doing, but just run a Raze or run a Waylay or some Yoru double duelist comp. I mean, Neon just overall is a really strong agent still. Like, her slide's really cool. She's probably, in my opinion, she's the third best entry in the game behind Waylay and Jet. She has a lot of like space making potential. Like, to me, she just feels like a better version of Jet. Like, she has the same smoke that she can throw for herself in the wall, the same like dashing, like high movement mechanic with her sprint and her slide, but she on top of that gets a stun. And then she also has, in my opinion, the better ultimate than Jet in the overdrive, where she gets an extra dash, or slide rather, and she can just, like, it's easier to get kills with just because she's so much harder to hit. Moving on to Fade, I think she's going to go above Sova. I think with the recon darts taking longer to come back off of cooldown, I think you would much rather have more options to gather information than like one dart, one drone for the entire round. and the dart obviously is on a 60-second timer. Fade's entire kit allows you to get information. Like you can throw a seize, so the center of it is in the open, but it extends into a corner, and you can see if that corner is or is not clear. Like, for instance, let me go into Battle Plant real quick and show one of my favorite seize examples. It is right here, where normally you'd have to use a drone or take a 50-50 on this, but now you can just throw a seize and you know for sure if anyone is or is not here, because they won't be able to, or like you'll be able to see if they're tethered to it or not. Whereas like no other agent in the game really has that capability, other than if you invest something more like info wise or like costly, like something like where you'd much rather use it on site or use it to get out of site or something like that. I think having two prowlers, the seize, in my opinion, the better ult. The dart versus the recon, or the haunt versus recon dart, I think are rather interchangeable. I would honestly say that Fade Eye might be better just because you can get it in more unexpected spots. I think they're pretty interchangeable overall, but I think Fade is definitely a step above Sova. And she just feels faster to play around with. Like the drone feels so sluggish. Most lineups are going to be farther back from like safer positions. You have to run all the way back like main if you want to use your Sova for post plant. Whereas Fade, you can prowler for yourself, you can seize the person, you can even recon more efficiently for yourself, just throw it at the ground and you can fight with it. Like Fade feels like you're able to brawl with her more and just take fights and like set yourself up. Like you don't have to be like this like a kind of like a breach where you have to like set someone up with the stun. Like you can actually do stuff for yourself, which I think is a really underrated aspect of initiators and why I think a lot of people hate playing the Sova. I think Sky also has the benefits of that as well versus Sova, and it just makes Sky and Fade feel more enjoyable to play and more like fun to play around, in my opinion, as well. Vito, I'm honestly not sure. Like I haven't really seen much Vito get played, and I don't think he's that strong. But many said that like the head coach of Fnatic previously said that he's in a spot similar to Waylay before her buffs, where no team really has played him well. So the public perception is that he's bad, and honestly, I could see that. Because defensively, I think he's really strong, but on attack, like it feels kind of hard to get value out of his signature unless the enemy team has a Sage or a Deadlock where you can use his signature to break the walls. So maybe like that's giving me like think like the thought that like maybe he is better than I'm giving him credit for. I think his teleports on defense are really cool, where you can fast TP across from like Sanskrit Road, B Heaven to CT spawn in like 1 second basically, and you can make a 20-second rotate like 5 seconds probably. I think that's always going to be really cool. And lurking wise, he's pretty similar to Chamber with his DP, actually slightly better. His ult is whatever. Like, yeah, sure, you can ignore all of the utility, but I mean, like, that's not that crazy, unless you like intentionally waylay ult or breach ult your Vito, so he can go inside and not get hit by it and like throw the enemy team off. Like I think his ult is just fine. He's a really strong inker on defense, but until I see like a strong use of his signature on attack, I don't see why you wouldn't just want to run a chamber, which is more straightforward. He's a His trip is really cool though. I will say that. It's like a better version of chamber trip, where you can like throw it through the map, which allows him to safely trip mid on like corrode if you smoke bottom mid like right away. But I don't know. I think maybe he's really strong with like a Viper. You throw like a Viper wall up, and the veto signature can see like maybe like Cypher trips or something. I don't know, like a lurk wall. I'm just not sure really how you would want to run a veto on attack side, but I think there is definitely potential for him, and maybe it is the case that I just haven't seen the right team use him yet. So next up is Harbor, and this is after his big rework. So his High Tide is no longer his signature. It is a, I believe, 300 credit Q ability. His signature is now his Cove, which is now a Omen Smoke, which you can put the Cove like shield up, or you can opt to not put it up, where it's guaranteed to last 15 seconds, but if you put up your shield, it can get broken. Then his Cascade has been removed. He now has a Clove Metal type ability, which is a near sight. So picture Paranoia, that is throwable like a seize, or not a seize, a metal, that just slows you for 1 second and makes you blind for I think like 2 seconds. But the thing doesn't affect you unless it has line of sight of you, kind of like a Clove Metal, which to me makes the worst Nova Pulse, which is Astra's stun. And he only has one Cove on a 40-second timer, 40-second CD, and his wall is no longer a CD, which was a really strong aspect of his kit in my opinion. And he doesn't have Cascade anymore, which is a really strong thing. His ult is better. It's basically a breach ult now that paranoias you, which is really cool. But the problem with him is if you play slow, you have to use your one smoke, your one Omen smoke, on a 40-second timer. You don't have a Cascade anymore, and you only have one High Tide to play with. So if you want to default, it's really weird to play him as a solo controller, which forces him to be a secondary controller. And unless you want to run Harbor Viper, I don't see what secondary controller would make sense. Because maybe you run Harbor Omen. There is some cool stuff there. You can throw a Cove in the middle of a site, have Omen Shrouded step into it, and then turn the Cove shield on to make Omen like a pseudo duelist. But realistically, if you're running Omen as a secondary controller, why wouldn't you just run an Omen Viper or an Omen Astra? Because Harbor before at least had the benefit of having Cascade, which no other agent had. But now he doesn't even have that. He has Storm Surge, which is a crowd control ability that is comparable to a Clove Metal. Worse than the Nova Pulse, worse than the Paranoia. I might even venture to say worse than a Molly on Viper. Even though, like, you would really just hold that to deny retake or Molly off bomb for post plant. So the only benefit of Harbor that you have now is that you have the High Tide, which can smoke 3 things at once, which is the only reactive controller ability that can do that. But why would you run him instead of an Omen Astra who you can instantly smoke 4 things with? Or Viper, where you can Viper wall up, Viper wall down, and you just have a better overall kit. It doesn't make sense. He's still a weak side anchor. Like, picture Haven C-Site. If you're solo holding as your controller player, say you're Sentinel, say it's a Cypher on A site, it doesn't even matter, but like, say you have Cypher on A, your controller on C, and you have like a fight down mid, would you not rather just be Omen, who can paranoia from back plat to main, TP around the site, smoke main, and you have like more freedom for yourself? Whereas Harbor, like, you can make your site smoke take bullets instead of just being able to get shot through. But what happens when they just break the smoke and you're in the middle of the open? And I think Harbor's kit is bad enough to like not warrant running him for the ultimate. Like, if you're concerned about an ultimate not being strong on Omen, just run an Astra. Like Astra, you can just wall all of mid like instantly, and just like do a split on any map basically. You can go mid to any site with Astra wall. Or you can use it for retake. You can wall off the bomb on defense. Like, you have a better ult on Astra, honestly. You have better crowd control on Omen or Astra. You have similar smoking potential on Omen or Astra. The Cove isn't that great. It's no better than an Omen smoke, really. It's slightly better, maybe, because you have the ability to put your armor on it. But you only get one. So why not just run Omen or Astra? Like, Harbor doesn't really have a place in the game. Like, is he a better agent? I mean, honestly, it's debatable. Like, he's not like definitely better in my opinion. I think it's up in the air if he's a better agent or not. He could definitely be a pocket pick, where you're like, let's pick something to throw off the enemies. Like, they know for sure we're gonna run this comp on this map. Maybe we throw some weird stuff like a Harbor Omen at them just to catch them off guard. I don't know. Because at least before you had the Cascade to hold and, or take and hold space. Like, look at the DSG split comp where they would get a chamber in garage with a sky flash behind it. The Cascade would drop after 7.5 seconds, which is long enough for chamber to get into garage, holding an op line, and basically just long enough, which you can't do with any other smoke in the game, from a safe position like that. Like, you have Astro, which is a 1 second smoke, but that's not long enough. So with that being said, I think Harbor's better than Vise. I think these two, like, I think these three are all kind of interchangeable. Like, I think you could make an argument for any of these. Actually, I'm gonna move all of these agents down to D tier. I think Brimstone is so good on Fracture and Bind that he should be in a tier of his own. Moving on to Teo, I think he's C tier. I think I would love to see his rockets have a cooldown, maybe even 60 seconds, for one singular rocket to come back. Since they split his rockets, I think that would be so fun to see, because you can pick a Teo into like a chamber team or a veto team who you know has like really weak sentinel utility. You can break their util, and you can have both rockets for the site hit, and then maybe you have one for post plant if you want to not early rocket. Like, there could be some really cool stuff with that. Like, say it's Corrode, you hit B site, they don't have a sentinel, they're playing the NRG comp. You use both your rockets for the site hit, then you have a 60-second timer. That might honestly take too long, but still, like, the idea of like maybe you use one off rip, one for the site hit, and then you have one for post plant. Like, maybe that's a more optimal timing now. Like, say it's Haven, they Cypher trip garage every round, you use one rocket that break garage trip, use one on a site hit, and then you have the extra one for post plant. Or you can early rocket and then double for site hit. The stun is fine. The drone is probably the best drone in the game compared to Owl Drone and Skydog. The ult is really good as well. I think he has a lot of potential, but he needs a lot of work, I would say. Like you need to spend a lot of time like running him and like theory crafting around him. But he's definitely a really strong agent. Like look at Fnatic's Bind and Champs. Like they used Teo really well, and they were a really strong Bind team at the event. So just like if you put that level of like theory into Teo, that level of like preparation and stuff, I think he can be a really strong agent on honestly any map just because of how simple his kit is. But does that make him stronger than Yoru double duelist comps or uh, double initiator comp or double controller comp? Maybe not. But if you put the time into him, he can definitely be a really strong option. Moving on to ISO, I think I'm going to put him in C tier below KO. I think he's an okay agent. His ult is decent. His I'm blanking. His undercut is really strong as well. With the vulnerable with the suppress, 4-second suppress. His wall is actually really nice after the rework, where you can right click it, make it go half as far, but it's also half as fast. It allows him to actually get into sight a little bit better. He pairs really well with like Yoru Neon Waylay. Like if you have one of them as like your main duelist, have ISO as your second end on a map like Haven, he's really strong there. On like the problem with him is you need to build so heavily around him that it makes it like so like forced, I think. Like you can't just slot in an ISO. Like it feels like you kind of have to run a Sova, you have to run a Cypher, and you should run a Yoru, which only gives you a controller, which you have to run a controller in this game. Like there's no map where you're gonna run a no controller comp yet, like realistically ever. So like think about Haven, like he's really strong there if you run a Cypher, if you run the Yoru, if you run the Sova, to like you have all of these information gathering tools with Yoru ult, spy cam, trapwires, the drone, the recon dart, all of this to get full information on where the other team is. And then you can ISO ult them, you have vulnerable X shock dart, which is really strong. But he's just a very like needy agent to get proper value out of him. So I think like there's easier options. Like picture a Viper as your flex instead of an ISO. With a Viper, you just slow the round down. On attack, you lurk. On defense, she's basically just a secondary sentinel / side anchor. Like he's a really like he's an agent that takes a lot of work for arguably less results than a Viper, which is why I think he's like a C tier agent. He's a very niche pick, but he can be used well. Like T1 were a really strong Lotus team early on with their Raze, ISO, Sova, Cypher, Omen comp. But he's so like demanding to make him work, in my opinion, that there's just better options like a Viper. KO, I think, is a really strong agent too. I might move Sky down to high B tier for now, because I think her map pool is really weak. KO, I think, is a really sick agent now. His knife going down to 60 seconds matches Sova, matches Fade. His flashes actually got better, which is really cool to see. His molly is the same. His ult is, unless I'm mistaken, one cheaper. I don't know. There was also like a small KO patch where he got buffed before, where his ult went from 3 seconds to 1.5. The weird left click flash mechanic where it like winds up if you throw it like early on to make his left click flash pop faster. Now his right click is the same as his left click in terms of flash duration, which makes him kind of strong in ranked if you can play around him well. And I've been really trying to like learn him in ranked. But again, this isn't about rank. This is about team play, where I think KO is really nice now. Like, I think his flashes are really nice. You can set up his duelist. You can set himself up, or he can set himself up rather, with like a right click flash. You can make plays with him again. Like, he kind of just feels like a better version of Yoru in some moments, where you can flash for your team. You have the knife, which can shut down Sentinel utility. Like, say you're going into like a B site on Corrode with like a full Vi setup. Not as much now, but still. You just shut all of that utility off, and you can like just hit site knowing that they have no utility, which is really nice. The ult is the same way. You can get KO up really fast now after the buff. I think it is an 8 cost ult, previously was 9. I might be mistaken on that. I might be just thinking of something else. Maybe Breach ult is what I'm thinking of, but still. His ult is one of the best in the game. He has an overall really good kit. And I think the right click flash is, if anything, like a power increase. So, I mean, I love seeing that from KO. KJ is in a weird spot right now. In my eyes, she's still pretty fine, but I need to think about the map pool. We have Abyss in the map pool, we have Bind in the map pool, we have Corrode in the map pool, Haven, Pearl, Split, Sunset. So her map pool's pretty bad. There's only Haven, where you would only run her with a Viper, typically. Pearl, which I think a lot of teams are going to lean towards a Chamber. And maybe another map that I just forgot about. Abyss, you would never run her. Bind, you would really never run her. Corrode, doesn't really make sense to run her. I mean, honestly, I would just run no Sentinel, really. Actually, Haven, like, I think Cypher's better, but if you run a Viper, which most teams are, you would run a KJ. Icebox, Lotus, Pearl, Split. Yeah, no. She doesn't have a great map pool, but agent-wise, I think she's still pretty strong. I'm going to put her below Chamber, just because she's pretty proven as an agent to be strong, but her map pool is really weak. Like, every map in the game is not a KJ map, really. Like, she only really has 2, like, maps where she has arguably better competition. But if we were in, like, a Lotus, Ascent, Haven, Icebox type of meta, like, she would definitely be higher up. And she would definitely get a much higher pick rate. I think she's fine as is, though. But, I mean, map pool wise, you're probably going to lean towards a Cypher or Chamber on most other maps. Moving on, though, we have Omen, who I think is either high A tier or low S tier. I'm just going to put him in low S tier. I mean, I don't think much has changed. His paranoia is shorter distance, but is better other than that. It's 80% as far and slightly faster. His TPs are still the same. His smokes have a slightly longer cooldown, which matches the rest of the video game. His ult is still fine. It's good for clutching solo plays. You can do some cool Astra walls to match the Omen ult, where you can ult to some rat corner and get a lot of value with that. You can ult for info, you can ult bomb. I think he's fast rotated as well on defense. Like, it's not a great ult, but it's so, like, multi-usable. Like, there's so many uses that you can get out of it to where it's guaranteed to get value. Like, honestly, you can ult, like, you can sit near the spike as it's detonating and ult away to save a gun. You can ult on top of a gun to get it if you are broke. Like, I don't know. Like, you have so many use cases for the ult where, like, he's just a good agent overall. Like, he just is a strong agent. Like, you could easily see a map pool where every team is running an Omen on every map. Phoenix is low C tier for me. He's definitely the lowest C tier agent. His ult is really sick, but it's kind of hard to guarantee that Phoenix gets ult orbs. I mean, maybe if you build like a Viper comp around him where you're using the Viper to collect orbs, say like a Scent Aiming, you're throwing the Nongshim wall. His flashes are actually really good. His Molly is okay. What utility am I missing? His wall isn't that great. So I mean, like, his spot as a duelist is awkward because he has flashes, which is really good. He's very self-sufficient. Like, he has self-heal with his wall, which honestly might be the best use case for it. Like, I'm thinking about like an Ascent comp. Maybe you run no dive duelist, run a Viper as your flex. Like, you can wall off Heaven, use it to self-heal. You have Molly to delay, Molly to get people off bomb. You get potentially 3 flashes in a round fairly easily if you get 2 kills. You have pretty farmable ult on both sites. Like, attack B orb is pretty easy, attack A orb is pretty easy. Especially if you have Viper wall A, you just Phoenix wall, get B orb. You can get potentially 2 orbs every round, maybe even 3 with a death, technically. I mean, defense, if you have like a chamber or something, he can set them up pretty well as well. Like, there's definitely ways that you can play around the Phoenix, but I don't think he's that strong. I think overall, why wouldn't you just run a Yoru if you want to run a flash duelist? Like, you can dive with Yoru. He's a safer flex pick, less that you need to build around him with. Like, more proven, more stuff that you can copy from other teams. The clone is better than Phoenix Wall. The TP is probably better than the Molly. The flashes, Phoenix Flash might be slightly better, but you can throw Yoru more places. So the flashes are pretty interchangeable, I'd say. The ults are pretty interchangeable too. Like, why wouldn't you just run Yoru, who's also a better opper at the same time? Has more escape tools, which makes them slightly more survivable. Like, you have slightly more survivability with him. While Phoenix has self-heal, better flashes to stay alive. Like, Yoru can just teleport across the map if he's in danger. And he has, like, no issue. Moving on though, Reyna, F tier. Her flashes are weaker. They're 2-shot to a phantom these days. Her heal doesn't matter. Her dismiss lasts less than it used to. It's kind of clunky. Her ult is literally useless. So her one ability is flashes. The only map I would ever see Reyna get played on is like G2 Gozen's Breeze, and that was in 2021. And Reyna's been like nerfed with her flashes. Like, it just doesn't even make sense to run her. Really, like, maybe you could if you really wanted to, but like, why wouldn't you just run a Phoenix if you want to run an agent with flashes? Really? I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense why you'd ever run a Reyna. Especially when you have Clove, who honestly is pretty decent as like a self-sufficient agent. Like, they have smokes, which are 12.5 seconds long, which isn't that great, but like Astra Omen smokes are 14-15 seconds. Clove can smoke after death. You have a better self-heal in my opinion, because you can just pop and swing someone with it. Metal, which is just a fine piece of utility, and they can self-res with the ult. Like, it makes them really strong. I would never run Clove as a solo controller, but I would run them as like a secondary lurker type of agent, like like EDG's Lotus comp in Champions, where they ran Neon Breach, Fade, Omen, Clove, and they just had Clove spam one way C long, and you can just pop off with them still. They just have more utility. You can lurk with them, like that's not throwing. And if Clove dies, you can just have them smoke after death. Granted, it's one smoke now, but that's not that big of a deal, especially because you're never gonna run them as a solo controller in team play. And the overheal went from 100 to 50, which is 8 seconds of overheal, and you're still gonna take a fight after that anyway. Like that might hurt a couple gunfights, like you're 1 or 2 bullets weaker, but still, like the 3 seconds of increased movement speed is so nuts. Nonetheless, the metal is fine. You can do lineups with it now, actually, and the smokes are actually really nice because you can do them from anywhere. Clove is kind of like a worse version of Viper, but you can kind of pop off with them, and you get a self heal or self res. They're kind of like a more fragging version of Viper, honestly. I think you can make a secondary lurk Clove work on a lot of maps. Like NRG tried it on Haven in 2024. It failed, but I think the vision still was fine. They had Victor on it, just lurking B main every round on attack. They had no info sentinel. They had a deadlock, which I didn't think was that great, but like with the Clove, I think the vision is still there. Like you can just have them lurk every round and get a lot of value out of them. Moving on though, Waylay. I think Waylay is pretty legit. She has a really good map pool. Bind, she's decent. Abyss, she's, in my opinion, the best. Corrode, I would say she's pretty clearly the best. Sunset, she's okay. Probably look at the Neon Arrays first. Split, she's usable. Haven, she's okay. I think Neon is definitely better. Jet is possibly better. But overall, like, she is strong on half the map pool and is okay on the other half of the map pool, which is more than most of the agents can say. Sage, I think, is an okay agent. I'll throw low C tier. I don't know. I think Sage is definitely strong on a map like Sunset, but like she's just such an awkward agent. I think like it just feels like, why wouldn't I just want to run a deadlock who has more self-sufficient tools? Like I can pre-place sensors, I can react with my wall rather than having to react with the wall, which makes it worse. Like it makes it more breakable unless you just have wall hacks and know that they're coming B and you just wall B without the delay. Like it just feels worse to play Sage than a deadlock. If you just pre-place sensors, they come into your site like pretty free kills. You can react with the GravNet too, which is, I mean, it's better than anything Sage has. Like I would rather try to GravNet someone than Sage slow them, to be honest. It's just like a better version of Sage slow. It's also on a 60-second cooldown, which makes deadlock better on attack because you have that reusable utility. Like you can just GravNet like B main or something on, say, like Sunset, and you can take that space instantly. Sage, like, I think if you use her well, she can actually be a really sick agent. You have a lot of really cool walls and stuff you can do. Like look at Paper X, where they had like the Sage and Omen TP, like the Paper X thing in Masters. I think it was Madrid at this point, which is coming up on 2 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And EG had a wall where I think Superman TP'd on top of it, and it was like an A main op line on defense, which was really cool as well. So like there is some cool Sage wall boosts on specific maps like Sunset, they can get some really cool value out of. But I think like just overall, why wouldn't you want Deadlock, who has more longer lasting utility, like in the round? Like as a Sentinel, you want to feel your impact throughout the entire round. Like look at Viper. I think that's what makes Viper so strong is that her utility, two of her pieces of utility can be felt throughout the entirety of the round. And honestly, if you want to throw the ult in there too, like you can keep um that pressure throughout the entire map. Like you know where the wall is, you know where the orb is, and that pressure is always going to be there on the map. Whereas Sage Slow runs away after, or runs out rather, after 5 seconds. I think it's less than, it might be like 3 seconds or something, and then it's gone. Like you just don't have that for the rest of the round, and it just makes like the deadlock sensors feel so much better, or like a Viper feels so much better. And then lastly, we have Jett. I'm gonna put her top of B tier. Actually, I'm gonna move these two agents up. I think she's above KJ, but below Sky and Chamber. I think Jett overall is pretty well known, like for win conditions. Defensively, you just get her an op line, and she's a really strong opper. She has smokes that she can like use to stay alive on defense. She has double movement and her Blade Storm, which is a decent weapon. It's similar to Chamber Ult or Neon Ult. And you get it for the entire round like Chamber Ult. But overall, I think defensively, everything that Jett can do, other duelists can do really. Like, picture like Haven peeking A long. Raze gets that op line. She can double satchel out. She's backside. She can raise nade A main. Like she can just live. She has more utility. Neon can do everything that Jett can, but she also has a stun. And she can run around after she dashes, which Jett can't do. It's like a one and done utility. Waylay, she can TP out and dash in. Like she can put a TP back, dash in, saturate somebody, TP back, and then have like another duelist dash in. Or like Yoru. Yoru can just throw a TP like backside, peek A long, TP out. Like I think just overall, the other duelists have become better just because of their extra utility that they have over Jett, but Jett is still a dive duelist, which is going to put you at least in B tier, I would say. Like, I don't think we're going to receive a bad dive duelist in this game for a long time. Like, you can see the difference in the other three duelists as well. Like, why would you ever pick these agents over, like, Waylay Yoru? Like, these two are really strong together. Like, you can even see, like, I'm pretty sure, whoa, DRX ran probably this comp on a map. Like, it might have been Corrode, unless they ran a Sova, but still, like, yeah, like, Jett is just a fine agent. You know what to expect with the Jett. There's nothing really crazy with her. This map pool is not great for her. She has Abyss, but I think Waylay's better. She's a bad agent on Corrode, bad agent on Bind. She's okay on Pearl if you're not comfortable with Yoru, but even then, some teams are running a Waylay comp, which might honestly be better. She's okay on Split, but you have to run her as a second duelist, which isn't really that great. It's like, why wouldn't you just run Raze Yoru? She's okay on Haven, but also just Neon is better. She's not good on Sunset. Like, Jett just struggles with her map pool right now, and like, without Ascent, without Breeze, like, she's gonna struggle with pick rate, I'd say. Like, I think agent-wise, she's still pretty fine though. But I think overall, this is a pretty well-rounded tier list. Like, I think Phoenix could be a really cool agent if teams used him more. I think if Harbor needs something like I don't think the rework is perfect. If Vise had her info flashback, I think she'd be a really healthy agent for the game. I think she was too strong before. But with everything that they've done to her, I think she would be a perfect agent where you can use her like to gather information, but she's going to be a detriment compared to like a Cypher. Like Cypher or KJ are just going to be better at holding sites, but you have the info with Vise. Breach, I think, needs to have the option to have faster rolling out utility, maybe at the detriment of having his utility be less effective. Like a right click flash that pops faster but lasts less, I think would be fine. Like I think that's pretty similar to the direction that Riot wants to go anyway, with less impactful utility. I think maybe you could do something similar with the stun. Like maybe if you stun, like maybe the farther that you stun, the less it takes to pop, or something like that. I don't fully know. Or maybe you have like a right click flash which can't go as, or right click stun rather, which can't go as far, but pops faster and stuns slightly less. Like I don't know, like have faster popping utility but with downsides to it. Or maybe like a right click flash can't go as far distance wise. Gecko, I think they should try 15-second cooldown because he feels just overall really weak right now. Like I think if he had 10 seconds like before the patch, he might be too strong. But I don't know. Like I don't know really what you can do to Gecko because he's such a utility heavy agent and like a such anti-utility meta that feels really weird to me. He's kind of like the opposite of why Viper is so strong. Like, I don't know. Like you can break all of Gecko's utility, but you can't do anything to counter Viper other than like a suppression. Clove, I think a lot of teams are underrating. I think she could be a really cool secondary controller. But the problem is Viper can't be strong in that map, so like maybe a map like Abyss I think could be really cool for a Clove. I mean, there's not really many bad Viper maps, so it's kind of hard to put Clove on any map that isn't like Abyss. Like I don't see a lot of Clove or Viper Abyss teams. You also have to probably run no Sentinel on Abyss then. I think a lot of teams just find it comfortable to have a Sentinel on the team. Like I think, like looking at Lotus, it's kind of proven that Clove can be a strong agent, but you just need to put a lot of thought into it. And like the problem with it is like, why wouldn't you just run a Viper on Lotus then? Or like, I don't know. So I think like maybe Abyss teams could look at a Clove just because I think it could be kind of cool. Because she's like such a self-sufficient agent that could be really cool to see, but like there's just simpler agents that have higher round or higher game impact possibly, that you would rather just run something like maybe an Astra and an Omen together instead. I don't know. I think this is an overall pretty comprehensive list. I think Brimstone, until he sees changes, will only really be good on Bind and Fracture, but where he'll be really good, maybe teams will experiment with him more on maps. I think Corrode is actually a pretty good Brim map. I think this is a pretty decent reflection of the meta after 11.08. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Kind of just like wanted to do an agent tier list, and I thought this would be a pretty good time considering 11.08, and then I wanted to wait for the Harbor rework after, and I think this has been long enough with the Harbor rework that it makes sense to drop the tier list now. And this is my general opinion in the meta right now. I don't think any agent here is like too far off. Again, Vito hasn't really been shown to his full potential really, so maybe I'm heavily underrating Vito. Maybe we'll see like Vito go up here, but until I see that, I think he's probably somewhere around here. I'll put him below Cypher for now. Maybe I'll actually put Cypher up here, because I think Cypher has a really good map pool. Vito has the benefit of having a trip, like an info trip over Deadlock, so yeah. That's gonna be it. Join the Discord, it should be in the description. Follow me on Twitch or subscribe to my channel. I stream on both occasionally. I think my Twitter should be in the description as well. And yeah, peace out guys, hope to see you guys in another video.